A little boy says, "Hey sir, my mom has a picture of you in her purse." The man, a billionaire CEO, stops dead in his tracks when he sees the boy's mom. The city park buzzed with life as the late afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the sprawling green. Children's laughter rang out from the playground, dogs barked with excitement, and couples wandered arm in arm along the winding paths. Everything about the scene exuded a carefree happiness, a stark contrast to Adam Sterling's typically rigid world. Adjusting the cuffs of his sharp suit jacket, a peculiar choice for a walk in the park, Adam couldn't help but feel out of place. Leisure wasn't something he often indulged in. As the head of a global tech giant, his days were consumed by endless meetings, critical decisions, and the relentless buzz of notifications. But today, he'd intentionally left his phone behind, seeking a rare moment of peace. Yet, as he moved through the park's tranquil setting, the stillness seemed to magnify a loneliness he wasn't ready to acknowledge. Stopping near a towering oak tree, he found himself watching a group of kids chasing bubbles blown by a street performer. Among them, a boy with tousled sandy hair caught his eye. It wasn't that the boy was particularly remarkable, but his boundless enthusiasm as he darted after the glistening orb struck a chord. The boy's laughter rang out, unfiltered and pure, pulling an unexpected smile from Adam. Not far off, a woman sat on a bench, her focus split between a worn paperback and keeping tabs on the boy. Her dark hair framed a face marked by warmth, and her posture carried a graceful ease, one leg crossed neatly over the other. She radiated a calm that seemed almost alien to Adam, and he found himself pausing, caught up in the peaceful tableau of their world. The boy, now triumphantly holding a bubble in his small hands, looked around to share his success. Instead, his gaze landed on Adam. They locked eyes briefly before the boy tilted his head, curiosity flickering across his face. Then, as if recognizing a long-lost acquaintance, he confidently jogged over, his sneakers crunching on the gravel path. "Hey, mister," the boy said, craning his neck to meet Adam's gaze. His bright blue eyes gleamed with interest. "My mom has a picture of you in her purse." Adam froze, thrown completely off guard. "She does?" he asked, crouching slightly to meet the boy's curious eyes. "Are you sure it's me?" The boy nodded with absolute certainty. "Yeah, I saw it. It's kinda old though. You look younger in it, but it's definitely you." Adam's thoughts spun as he processed the unexpected declaration. Over the years, he'd navigated countless unusual encounters, but nothing quite like this. Who was the boy's mother, and why would she possess an old photograph of him? It wasn't something easily dismissed. "What's your name?" Adam asked, his tone softening. "Jack," the boy answered confidently. "That's my dog over there. His name's Rocky. Want to see him do a trick?" Adam couldn't help but chuckle, genuinely amused by the boy's straightforwardness. "Maybe in a minute, Jack." "Can you tell me where your mom is?" Adam asked. Jack pointed toward a bench where a woman sat, her gaze now locked on them. Her previously relaxed demeanor had shifted. She looked tense, as though ready to step in at any moment. "That's her," Jack said. "Her name's Mom, but other people call her Anna." Adam felt his chest tighten. Anna. He hadn't heard that name in over 10 years, yet it resonated in his mind like a clear chime. Could it be the same Anna? The one he had known before his life became consumed by ambition and sacrifice? It seemed impossible, but as he studied her features more closely, recognition struck him like a flash of lightning. "I think I need to meet your mom," Adam said, his voice now serious. Jack shrugged, unconcerned. "Okay, come on." Without hesitation, he grabbed Adam's hand and led him toward the bench. Adam followed, his heart pounding harder than it ever had in any boardroom meeting or high-stakes deal. Each step brought him closer to a past he thought he had left behind, one he wasn't sure he was ready to face. Anna stood as they approached, her book forgotten on the bench. Up close, there was no mistaking her. Time had softened her face, but the quiet strength in her eyes was unmistakable. She stared at him, a mixture of surprise and unease on her face, her hands gripping the strap of her purse as though it anchored her. "Adam," she said softly, disbelief lacing her voice. "Anna," he replied, his mouth dry. "It's been a long time." For a moment, neither moved, the weight of unspoken memories hanging heavy in the air. Finally, Anna managed a smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I never expected to see you here." "Neither did I," Adam admitted, his gaze briefly shifting to Jack. "But it seems your son has an interesting way of breaking the ice." Anna flushed slightly, her eyes darting toward Jack, who was now engrossed in showing Rocky's trick to a group of curious children. "I'm sorry if he bothered you." He's Curious. No bother, Adam said quickly. But he mentioned something about a photo. Anna's grip on her purse tightened visibly. It's nothing, she said, her voice just a bit too hurried. Just an old picture? An old picture of me? Adam asked, his voice laced with curiosity and something harder to pin down. Why would you still keep that? Anna hesitated, her gaze flickering away. It's complicated. Adam wanted to press for more, to demand an explanation, but the guarded look in her eyes made him pause. He stepped back slightly, giving her room. I didn't mean to pry, it's just unexpected. Anna nodded, her shoulders easing a little. I get it. It's just, Mom. Jack's voice broke in as he bounded back, Rocky's leash bouncing in his hand. Rocky did his trick. Did you see? Anna's face softened as she looked at him, her tension briefly melting. I saw, sweetheart. Great job. Adam watched them, feeling a pang of something unnameable. The connection between them was both tender and bittersweet to witness. I should go, Anna said abruptly, her tone cutting into his thoughts. It was nice to see you, Adam. Really? Wait, Adam said, stepping closer. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes? Anna hesitated, her gaze shifting to Jack, already captivated by an ice cream cart nearby. Finally, she gave a small nod. Okay. But not here. Adam exhaled, a mixture of relief and unease swirling inside him. As Anna led Jack away, Adam couldn't shake the feeling that this chance meeting was about to pull on threads he didn't even realize were loose. And for the first time in years, he wasn't sure he was ready for what might unravel. The coffee shop Anna chose was tucked on a quiet corner, far from the park's bustling energy. Inside, the gentle hum of espresso machines and murmured conversations filled the warm space. Anna picked a table near the back, away from prying eyes. Adam followed her, his thoughts racing, though his expression remained composed. Jack settled between them, happily munching on a chocolate chip cookie Anna had bought to keep him occupied. Rocky lay peacefully at his feet. Adam noticed how Anna's hand rested protectively on her purse, her fingers gripping the strap tightly, as if guarding its contents, maybe from him, maybe from the world. Neither spoke at first. Anna focused on brushing crumbs off Jack's shirt, her attention locked on her son. Adam, however, couldn't look away from her. She resembled the woman he remembered, but not entirely. Time had softened the sharp angles of her face and left faint traces of its passage in the lines near her eyes. Sure. Here's the rewritten version based on your guidelines. The clarity in her eyes and the steady confidence in her stance were undeniable. You haven't changed much, Adam said at last, his tone quiet but sure. Anna gave a soft chuckle, though it carried no real amusement. Not sure that's true, but thanks for saying so. She paused. How long has it been? 15 years? He asked, leaning back in his seat casually, though the weight of the question lingered. Closer to 20, Anna corrected, holding his gaze briefly before looking away. It's been a long time. Adam nodded, letting the truth of her words sink in. 20 years. It didn't seem possible. The last time he'd seen her, they'd been on the brink of adulthood, brimming with hopes and plans that had felt unshakable. But life had a way of unraveling even the best intentions. I never thought I'd see you again, he admitted, let alone like this, in a park, with your son. Anna tensed, her grip tightening on her purse. Life's funny like that, she replied. Adam's gaze drifted to the bag, where he was sure the photo was tucked away. He hesitated, reluctant to push, but the curiosity gnawed at him. Jack mentioned a photo, he said carefully. Of me? From when we were kids? Anna froze, her lips tightening into a thin line. She didn't respond right away, focusing instead on cleaning Jack's hands with a napkin. Adam stayed silent, sensing the tension rise between them. It's nothing, she said at last, her voice barely audible. Just an old picture. I'd like to see it, he said gently. If you're okay with that. Anna's eyes locked on his, and for a fleeting moment, he caught something unguarded, something close to fear. Why? She asked, her tone cautious. Why does it matter? Adam hesitated, surprised by her reaction. Because I'm curious. Because it's strange to think that after all these years, you'd still have it. Her gaze shifted, darting between him and Jack, who was now engrossed in scribbling on the back of a napkin. At last, she exhaled a heavy sigh and reached into her purse. Her movements were slow, almost reluctant, as though she were giving herself a chance to change her mind. But she didn't. A moment later, she reached into her bag and pulled out a small, slightly worn photograph, setting it on the table between them. Adam picked it up, his breath catching as he examined the image. It was a snapshot from another era, captured on a sunny afternoon he hadn't thought of in years. In the picture, he and Anna stood close, smiling easily at the camera, their arms casually slung over each other's shoulders. He looked impossibly young, his face untouched by the lines and burdens that now shaped him. Anna, too, seemed different, brighter, carefree, and full of life. "I remember this day," he said quietly, his thumb brushing along the edge of the photo. "It was just before I left for college." "We went to the lake," Anna replied, her expression hard to read. "You insisted on bringing that old camera you had. You said we'd want something to look back on," Adam said, his chest tightening. "I didn't think you'd still have this." "I didn't, not for a long time," Anna admitted, her voice carrying a note he couldn't quite place. "I found it years later, tucked into some old book. I didn't mean to keep it," she added, pausing briefly. "But I guess I just couldn't bring myself to throw it away." Her candidness threw him off balance. "Why not?" he asked, his voice softening. She hesitated, her gaze falling to the table. "Because it reminded me of when life was simpler," she said finally. "Happier. Before everything got complicated." Adam studied her, feeling the weight of her words. He wanted to ask what had gone wrong, what had driven them apart. But deep down, he already knew. His relentless ambition, his need to succeed, had always taken precedence. He had been so focused on chasing the future that he hadn't realized what he was leaving behind. "Anna," he started, but she cut him off with a slight shake of her head. "Don't," she said softly. "It's the past, Adam. There's no use dredging it up now." "But there's clearly something here," he insisted, motioning toward the photo. "Why else would you carry this around?" "It's not what you think," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "I kept it because it's part of my past, not because I'm holding on to anything." Adam leaned back, letting her words sink in. He wanted to believe her, but the way she avoided his eyes told him there was more to the story. Even so, he knew better than to press her further, at least not yet. Jack suddenly lifted his gaze from the paper, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Look, Mom, I drew Rocky." Anna's expression softened, the stress lines on her face easing as she glanced over at him. "That's amazing, sweetheart. Rocky looks exactly like himself." Adam silently observed the moment, a swirl of emotions churning inside him. The obvious love Anna held for her son tugged at something deep within him, something he couldn't quite place. Perhaps it was a yearning for a connection he had spent so many years running from. As Jack returned to his drawing, Adam looked back at Anna. "Thank you," he said softly, sliding the photo across the table. "For letting me see this?" Anna gave a small nod but stayed quiet, slipping the picture into her purse before standing. "We should head out," she said, her voice calm but distant. "It's getting late." Adam wanted to stop her, to ask her to stay and talk longer, but he knew she wouldn't. Whatever barriers she had constructed between them wouldn't crumble so easily. Instead, he stood and offered a faint smile. "It was good to see you again," he said sincerely. Anna briefly met his gaze before looking away. "You too." Gathering Jack and Rocky, she left the cafe, and Adam remained seated, the image from the photo still vivid in his mind. He hadn't known what he hoped to find today, but it certainly wasn't this. A fleeting glimpse of a life he could have lived, one that now seemed like a distant echo of the past. For the first time in years, he found himself wondering about the what-ifs. Even after she left, the sound of Anna's voice lingered in Adam's mind. The way she had said his name, a mix of surprise, caution, and something unspoken, stirred long-dormant feelings. Walking back to his car, he couldn't stop the edges of the past from creeping into his thoughts, vivid and unrelenting. He had met Anna during his senior year of high school, a time when life still felt limitless and brimming with potential. She had a magnetic presence, effortlessly lighting up any room with her charm and intelligence. Adam, on the other hand, had always been more reserved, a dreamer with big ambitions, constantly looking ahead and planning his next steps. Their connection had started innocently enough, sparked by a shared love for literature during a chance encounter in the school library. What began as casual chats about books and life soon evolved into something deeper. Anna had this unique ability to anchor Adam, pulling him away from his endless pursuit of goals and reminding him to savor the moment. They spent that final summer tangled in a haze of endless strolls, late-night conversations, and whispered aspirations. Adam had been accepted into a top-tier university across the country, and Anna had stood by him, unwavering in her encouragement, even though they both understood what his leaving would mean. He recalled their last days together with an ache that refused to fade. They'd made promises they couldn't possibly uphold, swearing they'd stay connected, visit whenever possible. Yet, life had a way of pulling apart even the strongest of plans. Adam's first year at college was a whirlwind. Classes, internships, networking, leaving almost no room for anything else. Their phone calls dwindled, their letters became rare, until one day, there was nothing. Adam hadn't intended to let her drift away. He'd convinced himself his future demanded all his focus, that there would be time later to revisit their bond. But later never came. By the time he grasped what he'd let slip, it felt impossibly far gone. Standing alone in the stillness of the parking lot now, he couldn't help but wonder how different things could have been if he'd chosen another path. Would they have stayed together? Created a home? Built a family? Jack's face flickered in his mind, so full of Anna's radiant energy and that effortless grin. Yet there was something about him, something uncannily familiar that Adam couldn't quite identify. The thought clung to him, growing louder with each passing second. By the time Adam returned to his sprawling penthouse, its hollow grandeur felt heavier than ever. Tossing his keys on the counter, he poured himself a scotch, the golden liquid catching the soft light as he swirled it. Sitting by the window, the vast city stretched out below him, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Jack. How old was he? 7? 8? Adam calculated in his mind, his chest tightening as the timeline uneasily aligned with his last days with Anna. But it didn't add up. Anna had been clear, Jack wasn't his son, and she hadn't faltered in saying so. Still, the idea wouldn't let go. Adam reached for his phone, the urge to call her and demand the truth almost overwhelming, but he stopped himself. What could he even say? That he had spent hours sitting alone, consumed by thoughts of a child he barely knew? That he couldn't stop questioning if there was a possibility he might be the boy's father? It sounded ridiculous. Yet, the nagging feeling that Anna hadn't told him the whole truth wouldn't let go. Memories of her swarmed his mind, relentless and vivid. He pictured Anna in her favorite sundress, laughing as she splashed water at him by the lake. He heard her teasing voice, poking fun at him for always being too serious, forever planning and never living in the moment. He could still feel the weight of her head resting on his shoulder that final evening they spent together, a quiet sadness lingering between them as they pretended nothing would change. Adam sank into his chair, dragging a hand through his hair. For years, he'd convinced himself that the sacrifices he made were worth it, that the late nights, missed connections, and isolating success were all part of the cost. But now, for the first time, he wasn't so sure. The following day, he found himself at the park again, drawn there by something he couldn't quite explain. He didn't expect to see Anna or Jack, but he needed to reconnect with the fleeting moment they had shared. He retraced his steps, stopping at the bench where Anna had sat. The image of the book she'd been reading lingered in his mind, though he hadn't been able to catch the title. He was just about to leave when a familiar voice called his name. Adam. He turned, and there she was, standing a few feet away with Jack's hand in hers. Anna's face showed surprise, but there was a flicker of something else, something not entirely unwelcome. Anna, he said, his pulse racing. I wasn't expecting to see you. I could say the same, she replied, a faint smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Jack tugged on her hand. Can we go see Rocky now? He's waiting. In a minute, sweetheart, Anna said gently. Her gaze shifted back to Adam, her expression cautious. What are you doing here? Honestly, I was hoping to run into you, he admitted. There's so much I didn't get to say yesterday. Anna sighed, her shoulders stiffening. Adam, I'm not sure this is a good idea. Why not? He stepped closer, his voice steady. Anna, you can't just show up after 20 years without any explanation and expect me not to have questions. I didn't show up in your life, she countered sharply. Jack ran into you. This wasn't planned. Maybe not, he said softly. But now that it's happened, I think we owe it to ourselves to talk. To be honest? Anna hesitated, glancing down at Jack, who was starting to fidget. Not here, she said at last. This isn't the time. Then when? Adam pressed, his voice firm. I'm not just going to let this go. She locked eyes with him, her gaze flickering between frustration and something softer, almost vulnerable. I don't know, she murmured. I need time to think. Though unsatisfied, Adam nodded. Fine, but I'm not stepping away, Anna. Not this time. Anna said nothing. Instead, she clasped Jack's hand tightly and walked away, her strides resolute, her back straight. Adam stood rooted, watching them leave. His chest felt tight, weighed down by questions that remained unanswered and feelings left unspoken. Alone again, he couldn't shake the sense that this moment was only the start. The threads of their shared past were beginning to unravel, drawing him towards something unclear but impossible to ignore. And for the first time in years, Adam felt both terrified and vividly alive. He leaned back in his office chair, staring at the ceiling as his phone buzzed rhythmically on the desk. The stack of untouched contracts beside it was an anomaly for someone with a reputation for relentless focus. Yet his thoughts were elsewhere, trapped in a loop of unanswered questions. Anna's guarded look. The photograph she kept in her purse. Jack's uncanny resemblance to someone he couldn't quite place. Each detail replayed endlessly, pulling him deeper into a maze of speculation. By the end of the day, Adam knew he couldn't leave it alone. It felt invasive, but he couldn't shake the belief that Anna was hiding something important. He needed clarity, not just for himself, but because their meeting felt too purposeful to be chance. The next morning, Adam picked up the phone and called Daniel Carter, a private investigator he trusted. Daniel had handled corporate investigations for Adam before, rooting out espionage or vetting major deals. This request was different. "I need you to look into someone," Adam said, his voice steady as he leaned back in his chair. "Her name is Anna Carter. She lives in the city. And her son, Jack Carter." Daniel paused, his response careful. "This isn't business related, is it?" "No," Adam admitted. "It's personal. But I need this done delicately. No crossing lines. Just gather what you can." Daniel agreed, and when the call ended, Adam slumped forward, his hands rubbing his temples. The decision left a sour taste. He respected Anna's independence and hated the idea of intruding on her privacy. But he reminded himself that it was the only way to grasp the bigger picture, if one even existed. The next few days dragged on, filled with a mix of guilt and restless anticipation. Adam buried himself in his work, hoping to drown out the thoughts swirling in his mind. Yet, the questions persisted. Each time he imagined Jack's beaming smile or recalled Anna's hesitant responses, the ache in his chest grew stronger. Late on Thursday evening, Daniel finally called. "I've got the info you wanted," Daniel said. "Can you talk now?" Adam nodded instinctively, though Daniel couldn't see him. "I'm listening." "Anna Carter is a single mom," Daniel began. "She's a registered nurse at a local hospital. She's been in the same modest apartment for 8 years and doesn't have any notable financial ties. Nothing that connects her to you or your company. No loans, payments, or legal affiliations." Relief washed over Adam, but it was brief. He hadn't known what to expect, but at least this ruled out one fear. Anna hadn't sought him out for money. "Jack Carter," Daniel continued, "is 8 years old, born right here in the city. No father listed on his birth certificate." Adam's heart skipped a beat at those words. He steadied himself. "Go on." "From what I can tell, Anna's raised him on her own since the beginning. No records of shared custody or child support. She's independent and by all accounts, doing well. Neighbors describe her as kind but reserved. She works long hours but always makes time for Jack." Adam shut his eyes, picturing Anna in her small apartment, managing work and motherhood with the same resilience he remembered. The image stirred something deep. Admiration mixed with guilt. While he'd been chasing his ambitions, she'd been building a life alone. "Should I dig further?" Daniel asked after a pause. "No," Adam replied quickly. "You've done plenty. Thanks, Daniel." After ending the call, Adam sat motionless, gazing at the city lights from his penthouse. Daniel's report painted a vivid picture of Anna's life, yet it left the most pressing questions unanswered. Why had she kept the photo? Why had she concealed Jack's father's identity? And, perhaps most haunting of all, could Jack be his son? Adam's mind drifted to the timeline. 8 years old. Born about a year after his relationship with Anna ended, the timing made it possible, but Anna had been adamant, Jack wasn't his. Yet, the blank space for the father's name on the birth certificate gnawed at him. The weight of digging into her life felt heavier now. Anna had clearly worked tirelessly to raise her son on her own, without leaning on anyone, least of all him. She had built a simple life, but one that seemed rich with love and stability. What right did he have to disrupt that? But the photo lingered in his thoughts, haunting him. Anna's claim that it was just a relic of her past felt incomplete. People didn't keep tokens from something they'd moved on from. That photo meant something to her, even if she couldn't admit it. Adam poured himself a whiskey and settled onto the couch, letting the quiet of his apartment envelop him. He thought about the life he'd crafted, successful, affluent, but hollow in ways that mattered. And then his thoughts turned to Anna and Jack, two people who, in mere days, had stirred something inside him he'd buried for years. By morning, he found himself standing outside the hospital where Anna worked. He hadn't planned it. His feet had brought him here before his mind could stop them. He wasn't sure what he wanted. A conversation, an apology for intruding, or maybe just the chance to ask the burning questions inside him. But as he stood there, watching the steady stream of nurses and doctors through the wide glass doors, he faltered. Anna had every right to her privacy and the life she'd built without him. Showing up uninvited felt wrong, no matter his intentions. He turned to walk away, but a voice froze him. "Adam?" He spun around to see Anna standing just a few feet away, surprise and suspicion mingling in her expression. In her scrubs, her hair pulled back, she looked worn but radiant in a way that tightened his chest. "What are you doing here?" she asked, stepping closer. Adam hesitated, fumbling for the right words. "I didn't mean to intrude," he finally said. I couldn't get our conversation out of my head." Anna's face softened a little, but she still kept her guard up. "Adam, I'm not sure what you're hoping to find, but I don't think it's here." "Maybe not," he admitted. "But I can't just walk away without understanding." "Anna, why did you keep that photo? After all this time, why is it still with you?" She turned her head, her jaw tightening. "It's complicated." "Then explain it to me," he said, his voice quieter now. "Because I've spent the past few days wondering if I made a mistake letting you go. And I don't think I can live with myself unless I try to figure it out." Anna met his gaze, her eyes holding something he couldn't quite define. Pain, longing, and maybe, just maybe, a glimmer of hope. But she didn't respond. Instead, she sighed and glanced toward the hospital doors. "I need to get back to work," she said softly. "I can't do this right now." Adam nodded, though the ache in his chest deepened. "I'll wait," he said simply. "Whenever you're ready." Anna hesitated briefly before turning and walking away, leaving Adam standing alone with even more unanswered questions. That evening, Adam stood outside Anna's apartment building, a modest brick structure tucked into a quiet neighborhood. The hum of the city was faint in the background, distant enough for the stillness to settle in. He had second thoughts about coming. Showing up unannounced might only push Anna further away. But the questions gnawed at him, refusing to let him rest. He needed answers, needed her to fill in the blanks. He rang the doorbell and waited, his heart pounding as he heard footsteps approach. The door opened slowly, and there she was, her face a mixture of surprise and caution. "Adam," Anna said quietly, her tone cautious as she peeked over her shoulder before stepping into the hallway. "What are you doing here?" "I had to see you," Adam replied. "I couldn't leave things the way they were." Anna sighed, her fingers hovering over the door frame, torn between shutting him out and letting him in. After a tense moment, she stepped aside. "Jack's in his room, working on homework. Keep your voice down." Adam entered, his eyes scanning the small but inviting space. The room was modestly furnished, each piece showing signs of care and wear. Framed pictures adorned the walls, most of them of Jack, his face lit up with joy in school photos, candid moments, and a few pictures with Rocky. The apartment radiated warmth and resilience, a testament to love and effort, and Adam couldn't help but feel like an intruder. Anna gestured toward the worn couch for him to sit, but she remained standing by the window, her arms crossed. The tension between them was thick. "You shouldn't be here," she murmured. "It's not fair. To me or Jack." "I know," Adam said firmly. "But I can't stop thinking about that photo, about all the things we've left unresolved. I need answers, Anna." She turned to face him, her eyes blazing with frustration. "Answers about what, Adam?" "That I kept a picture from a time when I thought there might be a future for us. That I held onto it because it reminded me of a moment when I felt truly happy, even if it was short-lived." Her words struck like a blow, but Adam didn't look away. "You didn't just keep it," he said evenly. "You carry it with you. People don't do that for memories they've moved past." Anna's shoulders sagged, and she exhaled sharply. "You don't know what my life has been like, Adam. You don't get to question why I kept it." "I'm not questioning you," he said quickly. "But Anna, you're holding onto a picture of us while raising an 8-year-old. The timeline, it doesn't make sense." Her expression turned to stone. "Jack isn't your son." "Then tell me why I feel like there's something you're not telling me," Adam pushed, his tone insistent. "Because I can't shake the feeling that there's something I should have known about." Anna sighed, pressing her fingertips to her temples. Her voice quivered as she replied, I've told you already, Adam. Jack's father isn't in the picture. He never was. Don't read more into it than that. Then why keep the photo? Adam asked, his voice softening. Why hold on to it all these years? Anna faltered, her carefully built walls starting to crumble. She sank into the armchair across from him, her fingers nervously tugging at the edge of her sleeve. Because, she began slowly, it was the last time I felt like my life was going in a direction I understood. After you left, everything was different. I didn't expect to end up as a single mom. I didn't plan on raising a child alone, working 2 jobs just to stay afloat. That photo, it reminds me of when life still felt manageable, when I didn't feel like I had the weight of the world on me. Her voice cracked, and she quickly turned away, dabbing at her eyes. Adam leaned forward, the guilt pressing down harder than ever. Anna, he said softly. I'm sorry. For everything I put you through back then, for leaving without a second glance. I thought I was doing the right thing by focusing on my own future, but I see now how selfish that was. It doesn't matter anymore, Anna said, her voice thick with emotion. We've both moved on. I've made a life for myself, and you've done the same. But it does matter, Adam insisted. Because even if our lives have gone on, I still care about you. I care about Jack. I can't ignore the possibility. I told you? Anna cut him off sharply. Jack isn't your son. Her words hung heavy in the air. Adam leaned back, struggling to accept their weight, though a shadow of doubt still lingered at the edges of his mind. He observed her intently, scanning her face for any trace of uncertainty, any slip in the carefully guarded facade she maintained. If that's true, he said deliberately, then why didn't you tell me about him earlier? Why not let me be part of your life, even just as a friend? Anna hesitated, her eyes briefly darting toward the hallway where Jack's room was. Because it was simpler this way, she admitted. Simpler to leave the past where it belonged, to let you go without pulling you into something you didn't sign up for. Adam felt his chest tighten. But what if I wanted to be part of it? She shook her head, her face etched with exhaustion. You don't get it, Adam. When I found out I was pregnant, I had to make my choices alone. I couldn't rely on anyone to step up, not you, not anyone. And I've done everything I can to give Jack the life he deserves. Adam wanted to protest, to say she hadn't given him the chance, but he realized it wasn't fair to challenge decisions she'd made under circumstances he couldn't fully grasp. I'm not here to take anything away from you, he said finally. I just want to understand. To know the truth. Anna's eyes met his, filled with weariness and a glimmer of guilt, but she didn't respond. Instead, she walked to the window, gazing out at the street below. The truth is, she said softly, I kept the photo because I needed something to remind me of what I used to believe in, of who I used to be. It doesn't mean anything more than that. Her words landed like a barrier between them, solid and unyielding. Adam stood there, his heart weighed down by everything left unsaid. I'm not sure I believe that, he said quietly. But I'll respect it. For now. Anna didn't turn around, and Adam took her silence as a sign to leave. At the door, he paused, looking back briefly. Anna, he said, his voice steady but gentle. If you ever want to talk more, if you ever need anything, I'll be here. She gave a small nod, her back still to him, and Adam left, the sound of the door clicking shut behind him. As he walked down the hall and out into the night, the nagging feeling that the truth was still out there lingered, just beyond his reach, waiting for the right moment to surface. A week went by after Adam's visit to Anna's apartment, but the memory of their conversation clung to him, gnawing at the edges of his mind. He immersed himself in work, trying to silence the nagging doubts and unresolved questions, but it was futile. Every time he shut his eyes, Anna's wary expression and Jack's radiant smile haunted him. Something about it all still felt off. One evening, his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. Normally, he'd ignore it, letting his assistant handle such things, but this call felt different. He answered, his tone edged with curiosity. Adam Sterling, he said. The voice on the line wavered. Mr. Sterling, this is Megan. There was a pause. Anna's sister. Adam froze. He hadn't heard that name in years. Back when he and Anna were together, Megan had been the protective older sibling, always looking out for Anna while silently disapproving of Adam's ambitious drive. Megan, he said carefully, the name unfamiliar on his tongue after so long. It's been a while. It has, she said, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. I wasn't sure if I should call, but I couldn't stay silent anymore. Adam leaned forward, gripping the phone tightly. What's this about? He asked, his tone low. It's about Anna, She paused. And Jack? His breath caught. What do you mean? After a heavy pause, her voice strained. Anna hasn't been completely honest with you. She had her reasons, but you deserve to know the truth. Adam's pulse quickened. Go on, he pressed. Jack is your son. The words hit like a thunderclap, leaving him stunned. For a moment, he couldn't process what he'd heard. That's impossible, he murmured. Anna told me. She said he wasn't mine. She lied, Megan said bluntly. She thought telling you would derail your life. Back then, you were so focused on your career. She believed you'd feel obligated to stay, and she didn't want to hold you back. Adam's chest tightened, anger and sorrow swirling. She didn't think I deserved to make that choice? He asked, his voice trembling. She thought she was doing the right thing, Megan said softly. Anna was terrified. Young, alone, trying to figure out how to raise a child. By the time she considered telling you, she felt it was too late. Adam stood, pacing as his thoughts raced. And you knew? He asked sharply. Yes, Megan admitted. But I disagreed with her. I begged her to tell you, but she refused. She didn't want you to feel trapped. Adam pressed a hand to his forehead, his emotions roiling. Why now? He demanded. Because you deserve the truth, Megan said firmly. And Jack deserves to know his father. He's an incredible kid, Adam. Smart, kind, full of life. He's everything good about both you and Anna. Adam's heart ached as her words sank in. He thought of all the moments he'd missed. First steps, first words, milestones he'd never seen. The thought of Jack growing up without him brought a wave of guilt. I don't know what to say, he admitted, his voice raw. You don't have to decide now, Megan said gently. I just thought you should know. They sat in silence, the weight of the confession hanging heavy. Finally, Adam whispered. Thank you. When the call ended, he collapsed onto the couch, staring at the skyline, his mind spinning with anger, guilt, and sorrow. Sleep was impossible as memories of Anna and Jack replayed, each one now seen through a new lens. By morning, Adam knew he couldn't ignore it. He had to talk to Anna. His knock on her door was firm. When she opened it, her face showed shock and apprehension. Adam, she said cautiously. What are you doing here? We need to talk, he replied, his tone unyielding. She hesitated before stepping aside. Jack's at school, she offered. Good, Adam said. This is about us. The air was thick with tension as they sat across from each other. I spoke to Megan, Adam began. Anna's face fell, her expression a mix of shock and guilt. She told me the truth, he said, his voice sharp. Jack is my son. Anna's eyes filled with tears as she whispered. Adam, Why? He interrupted, his voice breaking. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice trembled as she replied. I thought I was doing what was best. You were building your career. I didn't want to hold you back. You didn't think I deserved to know? His frustration boiled over. That I might have wanted to be there for him? Tears streamed down her face. I was scared, Adam. I was young and alone. By the time I thought about telling you, it felt like too much time had passed. Adam paced, trying to make sense of it all. You don't just get to decide that for me, Anna. I know, she whispered. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you or Jack. I thought I was protecting you both. Adam paused, his anger wavering as he saw the pain etched on her face. You weren't protecting us, he said quietly. You were protecting yourself. Anna flinched but didn't argue, simply nodding as tears streaked her cheeks. Adam exhaled deeply, his emotions a tangled storm, though slightly steadier now. I need time to process this, he said. But I want to be in Jack's life. He deserves to know the truth. Anna's voice was barely a whisper. Okay. As Adam left her apartment, a whirlwind of feelings churned within him, relief mixed with heartbreak. The truth was out, but the road ahead felt uncertain, fraught with unanswered questions and challenges he wasn't sure he could face. Yet one thing was clear, there was no going back. Jack was his son, and Adam was determined to make up for lost time. The sharp morning air stung Adam's face as he parked outside Anna's building. The night had been a sleepless haze of replaying everything, grappling with the sting of betrayal and the ache of stolen years. But beneath the pain was a relentless resolve to be part of Jack's life. When Anna opened the door, her expression spoke of quiet acceptance, as if braced for this moment. She stepped aside without a word, letting him in. The warmth of the apartment did little to soothe his tension as he remained standing despite her gesture to sit. "I spoke to Megan," he began, his tone steady but firm. "She told me everything." Anna's shoulders sagged as she closed her eyes briefly. "I thought she might," she admitted softly. "I asked her not to, but I knew she wouldn't keep it from you." Adam's voice sharpened. "She did the right thing. You should have told me, Anna. You owed me that." Her gaze dropped to her hands. "I know. I was scared, Adam. You were chasing your dreams, building your career. I didn't want to pull you away from all that." "That wasn't your choice to make," Adam retorted, his voice rising. "You kept my son from me for 8 years. 8 years, Anna?" Tears welled in her eyes, but she held his gaze. "Do you think I don't regret it? I've thought about telling you so many times, but I convinced myself it was too late. That you'd moved on and didn't want this in your life anymore." Adam ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "It's not just about me. It's about Jack. Don't you think he deserves to know who his father is?" Anna's voice trembled. "Of course he does. But he's happy, Adam. He's been through so much already, and I was scared of turning his world upside down." Adam stopped pacing, his tone softening. "I'm not here to take him from you. I just want to be part of his life. I've missed so much, and I don't want to miss any more." Anna twisted her hands nervously. "It's not that simple. Jack doesn't know you're his father. To him, you're just a nice man from the park. What if telling him makes him feel like everything he knows is a lie?" Adam's voice was firm. "We'll figure it out together. But I can't keep pretending he's not my son. He deserves to know the truth, and I want to know him too." Before she could respond, small footsteps padded down the hallway. Jack appeared, rubbing his sleepy eyes and clutching Rocky's leash. "Mom. What's going on?" Anna quickly wiped her tears, forcing a smile. "Nothing, sweetheart. Adam just stopped by." Jack's face brightened. "Adam, are you here to see Rocky do tricks again?" Adam chuckled softly, his heart warmed. "Maybe later. How are you?" "Good." Jack grinned. "We're going to the park. Are you coming?" Anna froze, caught off guard, but before she could answer, Adam smiled and said, "I'd love to, if it's okay with your mom." Jack turned to Anna, his hopeful eyes wide. "Please, Mom. Adam can come, right?" Anna hesitated, glancing between her son and Adam before sighing softly. "Okay," she said. "He can come." Jack cheered, running off to his room to get ready, leaving Anna and Adam alone in the thick silence of unspoken emotions. But within that silence, a flicker of understanding emerged. "Thank you?" Adam said quietly. Anna nodded, her expression mixed with gratitude and unease. "This doesn't mean I'm ready to tell him everything," she said firmly. "Not yet." Adam nodded. "I understand. I'm here for you and for Jack." At the park, Jack raced ahead with Rocky, his laughter ringing out as the dog chased a frisbee. Anna and Adam trailed behind, their earlier conversation lingering. Breaking the silence, Anna said, "You're good with him. Jack really likes you." Adam smiled softly. "I like him too. He's an amazing kid and deserves the best." Anna looked away, her hand brushing her purse strap. "I've done my best to make sure of that." Adam replied earnestly, "You've done more than that. It's clear how much he loves you." A faint smile appeared on Anna's face. "Thank you," she murmured. As they watched Jack play, an unexpected calm settled over them. Adam felt a glimmer of hope, for all of them. "Hey, Adam," Jack called out. "Come play with us." Adam glanced at Anna, who gave a tentative nod. Joining Jack, their laughter soon mixed as Rocky barked happily. From the bench, Anna watched, her chest tight with a blend of fear and a long-forgotten feeling. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. The weeks that followed brought change. Adam kept his promise, carving out time from his busy schedule for Jack. They shared simple outings, trips to the park, frisbee games, or ice cream afternoons filled with Jack's animated chatter about school and games. Each moment revealed layers of Jack's bright personality, energetic, curious, full of life. Their bond grew naturally, and Jack eagerly anticipated Adam's visits, easing Anna's doubts. At first, she kept her distance, but seeing their connection deepen, her reservations began to waver. Over time, the wall she had built around herself started to crumble. Adam, too, changed. His life, once dominated by work and fleeting achievements, shifted. Juggling calls with park afternoons and school pickups, he realized how much he had missed. His priorities and vision for the future transformed. One night, after Jack was asleep, Adam and Anna sat in her cozy living room. The TV murmured softly, unnoticed. "You're great with him," Anna said, breaking the silence. "He's been happier since you've been around. I think he always felt like something was missing." Adam's smile carried a hint of sadness. "He's an incredible kid. I just wish I'd known earlier. Missing so much hurts." Anna lowered her gaze. "I was wrong to keep it from you. I thought I was protecting you, but I was wrong. I'm sorry." Adam lightly brushed her hand. "What matters is we're here now, for him. That's all I care about, to be there for Jack, with you." Anna met his eyes, her voice soft. "I want that too." From then on, they began navigating the delicate path of co-parenting. "Sometimes," Anna admitted, "I try not to dwell on it. What matters is where we are now. And for the first time in a while, I feel at peace with that." Adam nodded, a small smile forming. "Me too." They sat on the bench, watching Jack play. The sun's warmth, rustling leaves, and Jack's laughter wrapped around them like quiet comfort. The past felt lighter, and the future seemed less daunting. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. And that was enough. As the sun sets on their journey, we see life offers second chances. For Adam, Anna, and Jack, the road wasn't easy, but it was worth it.